The microphone fuzzy is gone. Mic check, 1, 2. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. This is Philosophy. So today's video is just a fire update and chat for May 2021. I try to do these videos once a month, sometimes once every other month, just to give you guys an update on my fire journey and where I'm at, what my net worth is, and kind of the things that I've been thinking about in relation to fire, but also just my own personal life. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy this video. So the last time I made a video, which was about a month ago, my net worth was sitting around $127,000. This month, my net worth climbed just a little bit to about $130,000. Something that I really didn't expect this year is to maybe be able to reach that $150,000 milestone in net worth, and it seems like I might actually hit that this year. I think one of the biggest changes for me is owning property. So before, when I was renting, all of that money was going into someone else's pocket. And I know it's not a be-all end-all of owning versus renting. Owning is not always better. However, for me, I want to live in Calgary, the city that I'm in right now, long term, and I have no plans to move anywhere else for a very long period of time. So I know that a big chunk of the payments that I make towards my mortgage and housing go towards equity in the actual property. This is huge. In the past, all of the money that I spent on rent basically just went out the door. Now I can actually count some of that towards increasing my net worth because I'm building equity into the properties that I own. So the slight increase for me in net worth this month was pretty much due to a little bit of savings and a little bit of an increase in some of my investments. A few of my other investments didn't do so well and they actually went down. So I think I would have had a little bit more of an increase in net worth if the market was doing a bit better, at least on the investments that I currently have. Another thing that I've kind of shifted to, if you guys watched my video about CoastFIRE, is I'm more following a CoastFIRE path at this point. That means that I'm not saving a whole bunch. I'm not saving a ridiculous amount into my long-term retirement savings at this point because I have technically already reached CoastFIRE with my net worth and the amount that I have in investments. So in actual investments, I have about $48,600, and I do count the equity that I have in my second property with my net worth in terms of what goes towards my CoastFIRE number, because I know that I will either sell that property or I will keep it as a rental long after my mother no longer lives there. However, I don't really know how that's going to go, but I do take that into account because I know that I'm not going to be keeping that property forever. Most likely I will be selling it in the future. Another really awesome thing that I covered in my CoastFIRE video is learning about the OAS, which is the Old Age Security in Canada. This is an income supplement when you hit 65. It goes along with CPP, which is the Canadian Pension Plan, and it's really allowed me to adjust my numbers in retirement in terms of CoastFIRE. What this means is I can now look at pursuing other careers and maybe investing in education, going back to school, and completely switching paths. Something that I've been really passionate about since probably mid-high school is becoming a pilot. And about 5 years ago, I took pilot flying lessons in a fixed-wing plane for a couple of months. And at the time, I didn't really have a ton of cash. I wasn't making a lot. And every time I went for a flying session, which was about an hour to an hour and a half, sessions cost about $400, $500. So it was very expensive, and after talking to my instructor, I kind of figured that I wouldn't be making a ton of money after I got my commercial license and decided to put that on hold. I've always thought that I would become a pilot at some point in my life, whether that be just a private pilot so that I could fly myself around and my friends and my spouse to different destinations. But I always thought if money were no object and I didn't have to worry about making a certain amount, that I would go to becoming a pilot, that I would say if I won the lottery, that is what I would do. So something that I've been thinking about saving towards and have been researching is becoming a helicopter pilot. So this is a very different type of situation than a fixed wing pilot in the sense that with being a fixed wing pilot, there's a lot more you have to do in terms of getting to like a high level of pay and also getting the really good hours instead of working all the holidays and the night shifts, and flying for a smaller airline for quite a long time. With being a helicopter pilot, usually you are based wherever you are working. So you get to go home every night and you don't have to be on the road constantly, or in the air, not really on the road. You know what I mean though. So yeah, I've been looking into that, and I actually have a introductory flight with a helicopter school that's in Springbank, Alberta. The biggest drawback for me is that the program itself to become a commercial pilot is about $60,000. Most of the cash that I have now is actually tied up in property or is in long-term investments in my RRSP. So I don't have a ton of cash sitting around to be able to pay for a $60,000 4-month course. In saying that, I know that student loans actually does cover this course, so I'm going to be looking into that, but I'm also going to be shifting a lot of my savings to a longer term goal of becoming a pilot in the next few years. This is something I never would have considered before finding CoastFIRE. The reason for that is I was on a lean fire path for the last few years and trying to hit $500,000 before 50 or right at 50, where I would then be able to decide if I wanted to do a completely different job, move into a different career, do something fun and different, something I actually wanted to do. The problem that I see with that now is 50 is still 20 years away for me. I don't think I want to do the thing that I'm doing right now in the career that I'm in at the moment for the next 20 years. So after doing some research, read a lot about CoastFIRE, and this is really what drew me to it, is that you can have those options now if you hit a number where you just leave those investments, and then when you hit traditional retirement age, then you're good to go. However, I do still plan to retire a little earlier than 65, but I do love the flexibility that it allows me to change my career now, maybe have a few setbacks along the way, but still be in a position that I could traditionally retire at 65 and be okay. Another thing that I've been saving towards again is moving abroad. This is something that I've wanted to do since just after high school. I've been looking at going to New Zealand since that time, and I've never pulled the trigger. Last year, right before the pandemic kind of got into the big whole swirl of things, I had applied for a working holiday visa in New Zealand, and then they shut all the borders, and of course they've been shut ever since. So the plan for that is just to go over there for about a year, maybe 2, and explore, travel, work a bit, and have just a ton of fun. So this means that a lot of my savings for the next couple of years are mainly going to go to things that are not retirement. And I think that I'm finally feeling okay with that, because I know a lot of people think that CoastFIRE is very risky and there's not a ton of wiggle room if something happens to you. The nice thing about being in Canada is that healthcare isn't really an issue like it is in the United States, and you're not going to go bankrupt if you get sick here. So that's something I don't really have to worry about. And not only that, but I think with CoastFIRE, it gives you a little more security than a lot of people realize. It's more about the flexibility of being able to do what you want, to shift careers, and to work something that's maybe a little less stressful because you're not as obsessed with that massive amount that you have to save to hit a magical number and then retire. And I know a lot of people in the community don't have actual retirement as a goal. They just want financial independence. And I think that CoastFIRE is a step towards that in allowing you to, it's basically fuck you money. And fuck you money allows you to stand up to your boss, switch careers, change the way that you're doing things without making it so risky that you have nothing to fall back on and no amount of money to keep you afloat if you have to go that way. Of course, the point of CoastFIRE is not to float on the money that you have in long-term investments for that traditional retirement age, but it still does allow you to open up some options and explore some other realms. Now that I've hit CoastFIRE, my CoastFIRE number, my next goal is to reach lean fire, and that is still 500,000 at or before 50 years old. And I would still probably work past 50, probably closer to traditional retirement age. And that is just because of the way that I am. I really like having the routine of going to work, having coworkers and being able to do something during the day and having friends through work, and just having that routine I think is huge. And I think the point for me now is really finding something that I really enjoy, that I'm not in such a rush to leave and to get away from. I've been thinking a lot about the philosophy of life and of FIRE, hence the channel name. It's not for me just about money and just about reaching some number and changing my life at that point. I want to build something that is worth living for and retiring to. I want to save for retirement and save for the future, but I also want to enjoy now. Finding work that I actually enjoy is extremely important to me now. It always has been, but I think I'm more willing to go back to school and bring on a bit of student debt to try and find something that I really, really love. Because I still have 20 to 30 years in my working career, and I have no real desire to fully retire at any point. So that's pretty much all I have for the update for May 2021. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.